Welcome to the Value of Your Values in Passionate Project Planning. I am Kathy Sipple, your host, and this is a CoThrive sponsored webinar. With us today we have Kristen Beiris, who is going to be our presenter, and she is a wonderful, wonderful coach that I've had the privilege of working with, and I know that you're going to enjoy hearing what she's got to say. She's got a lot of wisdom and some really, really great tools that can come from this, this tool that she'll be sharing with us. So take it away, Kristen.
All right, thank you, Kathy, for having me, and thank you all for joining, and also thank you for doing the assessment before we jumped on the call, because it's really helpful for me to see who's on the call and where they test out so that I can actually customize the call to your results today. So thank you very much for your participation. I'm excited to be here. A little bit about me very quickly is I actually typically use this assessment for marketing. I'm a trust building and marketing expert, and usually it's applied to task-oriented things within marketing. So today we're talking about applying it to tasks within a passionate project, which I know a lot of you have, and I do too. We all have our projects that we like to work on, and it can be applied to so many other things as well, which I think you'll find today as we're talking. And Kathy, I give you permission to jump in. Since you've been through some of this, I give you permission to jump in and give your own experience to help people understand how maybe you've actually used this. So I just want to offer that up to you as well.
Sounds great. I'll be on deck whenever you feel like it might be helpful. You know I'm chatty Kathy and I'd love to jump in. But I'll give you the floor.
That sounds good. So all of you who took the test, I'm hoping that you have your results in front of you of where you land. As you can see on the screen, there are 4 quadrants that you could have landed in. And I hope that you know which one you tested into. You should have the top 2 that you tested into. And I can tell you this, the majority of this group tested into Merchant Innovator. And if they didn't test into Merchant Innovator, Merchant is their second, at least. So a lot of you are very merchant-oriented, which is really kind of cool. I like to play with merchants. I am a merchant on top as well, and an innovator second too. So we are all very similar in that way. What I'd like to do is I'd like to go through the 4 quadrants and share with you what the core values of each one of them means and where it comes from, so you can have an understanding of that. And as we talk about that, I will share how that fits with project planning. So let's actually start. Since everybody is related to Merchant in some way, shape, or form, we will start there. And I can show you this nice little thing. Can you guys see that? There's 4 quadrants. So the merchant, as you can see, it's if you think about Elizabethan days and the market and the people who were in the market, the merchants are the ones who connect. They're the ones who are in the market, shaking hands, meeting people, getting to know people, connecting one person to another person. That's typically where merchants show up. So if any of you are entrepreneurs and you're a merchant on top, that actually is a very normal place for a merchant to show up. And so I'm not surprised if that's where you are, or if you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur. It's a good place to be as a merchant. A core value for merchant is love. And as you can see there, it says working towards an inspired vision. These are the visionaries of the world. Merchants have a vision, and they're the ones who share it with the rest of the world. And many times you see them standing up in front of a group and getting people to jump on board with their vision. Very vision-oriented. They can hold the vision for others, and they can create gigantic visions for themselves. They are also very much, and one of the reasons that many of you probably jumped on board for this is because you're very value-oriented. Core values is something that's important to merchants. They nurture that in themselves and others. So when it comes to project planning, a lot of merchants like to do things that allow them to connect with other people and honor who they are. And it allows them to they want to be in activities that are very honoring of other people as well as being honored themselves. So we like that exchange of I can be myself and you can too, and that's cool. That's kind of the place where merchants like to be. So if you're a merchant, if you find that that matches who you are and how you feel, then you want to try and find project activities that allow you to nurture other people and be nurtured and allow you to hold the vision and be that visionary for the project. Now, the second value, which it's love is catalyzed by truth. Truth meaning, and I don't like the way they say the way things are here, truth is your truth. What's your truth? What do you feel is the truth here? Or what do you know to be the truth? Or what's the truth for you? It's also what's the truth for other people. So merchants, just as they like to honor the values in others and have their values honored, they also honor the truth that other people have and honor the truth in themselves. And love and truth, no matter which quadrant you are in here, the two core values need to be connected. Both need to be honored in order for you to feel like you can be a positive impact and in order for you to be at your highest and greatest good. So you need to have love and truth if you're a merchant to be able to thrive and grow and become the greatest at what you're doing and get that project done and make it the coolest, greatest project that you could ever do. Kathy, I want you to jump in real quick because you're a merchant on top. So what are your thoughts on what I just said about that?
Well, it was
How does that apply to you? How have you discovered that it applies to you?
It was very interesting because Kristen and I were going through this process as, simultaneously I was getting CoThrive off the ground, and it just made so much sense to me. I was like, this is kind of why I'm structuring CoThrive the way that I am, because I have an inspired vision of, how we can all do marketing together and how we can network together and how geographically dispersed people might come together. And like love is really what kept me going to get this thing off the ground. So I'm not sure if that's a totally direct answer, but I definitely, like once I knew that that's what was driving me, it kind of gave me the green light to say, I'm on track. This is good. I'm going to build a business around this and it will work because this is a core value. So, yeah.
Great. Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. And it was the one thing I want to point out, Kathy, is that when we first started talking, you were like, it's just so easy. It's just happening. It's coming together. And that's exactly what it looks like to be in your core value and honor that core value for yourself. If you are honoring that love and truth and it's honored in you, it just happens. Things just get done. So the to-do lists can get a lot easier. When you talk about project planning, those to-do lists just happen when you are in your place of owning that value.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was very, very helpful. I think just to have an insight as to why you're doing what you're doing and not have it all be so random or it's just me, but understanding it's your unique, DNA and to really, work with that and honor it has been very, very helpful.
Yeah. And it's easy. It just happens.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I love about it, is it just happens.
And you find more energy for it, too, when you realize that you're working, in what you're catalyzed by. I think that's why, I've literally been not needing as much sleep because I feel like I am in that ease and I'm also in excitement and passion. So it's just a lot of good stuff has been happening.
And those are true signs that you are living within your core value and working on something from your core values. Those are all signs of that. So I'd like to Kathy, can we take a poll?
You know what? We can take an unofficial poll. I did not set up.
Raise their hands?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
If it's a yes or no, we can do it, or people can just type their answers in the chat area. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to know, for those of you who tested out Merchant on Top, I just want to know how many of you raise your hand if you feel like what I just said about merchants totally fits for you.
Okay, I see 1, 2 hands raised, and some people might need a little instruction on, okay, 3 hands raised. If you don't know how to raise your hand, you can actually go to the toolbar and you just click the little hand symbol. That's a way to do it. And if you don't know how to do that, you can type in the chat area and then let me know that way. But we've got a lot of hands.
That's good. That's
we've
good.
got 80% plus amount of hands raised.
Okay, and there were about 5 people that tested into merchant on top, so that makes perfect sense. And this is what I usually find is when I do this assessment with people and I start explaining to them what their core value is, they're all like, yeah, that's totally me. I get it. Now I understand. You know. So, but I always like to ask because I think it's fun to see how many, especially when we have a group like this, to see everybody raising their hands and going, yeah, that's me. That's me. So, all right. Good. Awesome. So let's move on to the next one, which is Innovator, which again, those 5 people who tested into Merchant also tested into Innovator as their second. We also have 1 person who tested into Innovator as their first. So let's talk about what Innovator's core values mean. The Innovator core value is wisdom. And sometimes we think about wisdom being the wise, you know, older person who comes from that wise place. And yes, it is a very wise place. But here's the thing. The way the innovators work is they look at a lot of different options. And they sit back and they look at all the possibilities and they kind of think through each and every one of them. So if you think about innovators, they're usually the kind of people who come up with cool ideas. And let me show you one of those cool ideas. See the bridge on the bottom right there? That's an innovator cool idea. They needed a bridge to go across the river, but they also needed the space for aqueduct. It's an aqueduct, so the water needed to come through. So instead of just building like a big hole in the bridge for the water to come through, they made it really functional with the bridge on top, but the water can flow through better when they have all those little arches in the bridge. So that's an innovator idea. They're very innovative, but it's because it's idea-oriented. Innovators, oops, wrong one. Innovators are very idea-oriented. It's all about what are all the possibilities. Whereas the merchant comes up with the vision, the innovator comes up with all the possibilities of how to get there. So the innovator looks at, here's possibility number 1, here's possibility number 2. What does it mean if we go through possibility number 1? What does it look like to go through possibility number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? They look at all the possibilities. And then they sit back and they look at that and they see what is going on with all of them. And then they can see which way to go. So that's the way the innovator works, is it's a bunch of ideas and they see what all of them are and they go, yes, this is the way we need to go. And wisdom needs to be connected to compassion. And compassion is being empathetic and curious about what's going on over there. So if you think about, if you're having a conversation with someone and you're trying to help them, you go through the different ideas, but you're going through it with the thought of what's going on with that person over there? What's underneath what they're telling me? What is it that they really want? And they're really looking beyond the surface to find out what that person's really getting at so they can come up with that wise decision and the wise choice from their list of possibilities. And if you think about a problem-solving thing when it comes to innovators, they're looking at the problem from all different sides. They're going, okay, so what if we look at it from this way? What if we look at it from this way? What kind of possibilities are there here? Well, digging really far into the problem and really tinkering and playing with it is the way innovators go with that to come up with, and that's the compassionate place. It's just looking at the problem from a very compassionate place, coming in and getting curious about it and looking at what's there. That's compassion. And when wisdom and compassion are together, an innovator can really understand a problem to a deep level and understand a person on a very deep level and come up with a solution from all these millions of ideas or several solutions. It's kind of hard for them to narrow it down to one, but they can come up with a few solutions that are what we might perceive to be the wise place to go because they've gotten so compassionate with it. So wisdom and compassion are the innovator realm, and that's where they live. So, and when it comes to project planning, if you think about when they have a project, they're looking at what is it that I want to accomplish, and they're looking at all the ideas, and they're playing with tons of ideas on this. So for those of you who are especially innovators on top, you need to really allow yourself the opportunity to explore all sorts of different options and not just stick to one, so that way you can actually go and look at it from many different directions. Those of you who are merchant on top and innovator on second, once you have your vision, once you have the vision for the project, see if you can tap into that innovator and really look at all the different possibilities there and see how you can use them to create your vision. And innovators, if you're merchant second, use your innovator to come up with a bunch of ideas to help you create the merchant vision. See if you can tap into that big picture vision once you have all your ideas to look at and play with.
Kristen, would it be okay if I volunteered another example?
Yes, please volunteer another example.
Okay, and I'll just say I am pretty firmly on the right side of this page. Most of my points, appeared in the merchant and innovator column. I think I was slightly higher in merchant, but innovator was, very, very strong as well. And what Kristen is saying, this is exactly how it played out for me. I was led initially by a value of love toward, can't we just do this differently? Why are there chambers of commerce things that I want to get to and I can't get there? Sometimes I need to work from home. How can I be with people I care about? So it was love, but then how would I do that? How would I build the solution? And then I really looked at almost permaculture principles to see, how do people come into my life? How are they referred to me? I do a chunk of work for them. They pay me a fairly high rate for several hours, and then I never see them again. I don't know how they're doing. I don't have a way to inform them when something's changed on social media or if their website isn't working. There's no connection. So I really looked at, I'm compassionate that they don't necessarily have all the money in the world to keep hiring me at that high rate. I see the way things are is that things change frequently and that people I care about don't know that it's time to call me and have me help them again. So like both of those values together worked in the rate structure for CoThrive, how I was going to offer up what I was doing. And it really, really helped to have this understanding behind my business decisions. It all went much, much more smoothly having this in mind and knowing that this was the blueprint that was driving me.
Well, here's the interesting thing that I want to point out to everybody else. I don't know if you heard it, but I want to point it out because as Kathy was talking, she went back and forth. So it was merchant coming from love, wanting to connect with people, and then going into innovator. Here's what I want to do, and how do I manage to do that, and what are the possibilities? Oh, there's this permaculture thing. Then she went back into merchant. For the truth is, these people don't always want to stick around, and I can create something to allow them to be a part of my life and stay with me and stay connected to me through this CoThrive community. So we bounce back and forth. We're never in more than one at any time. We're always in one or the other. So, and we always operate out of one. Now, given whichever one's on top, you're going to operate out of that first usually. But if you're, and Kathy mentioned numbers, you guys took the free version. When you take the full version of the assessment, you get numbers, so you see how close these are and how far apart they are and how high on the scale they are. So you start to learn how easy it is for you to access the second one and be able to jump back and forth and see how to do that. So that's the work that I do a lot of with my clients, is how do you shift? How do you go from one to the other? What does it look like to do that, and those kinds of things. And in project planning, you may jump back and forth. You might find yourself in merchant at one point and innovator at another. And use it when you have it. Because here's the thing, we need all four at some point in time. Every project requires having a merchant, an innovator, a builder, a banker to make it happen. And so whether you have other people who are the other quadrants or not, you may need to jump into the other quadrants if you're doing all of it. So to understand what all four quadrants are and know what they look like, you can understand where you need to be in order to get there and do the other pieces. And I can tell you since everyone is, no matter where you are on the scale, if your top 2 came out merchant innovator, builder banker is not going to be as easy to get to. So know that the top 2 are the easier to get to, and the other 2 are not going to be as easy. So it may take a lot more work for you to get there and do that. But if you know what they are, you know what's required in order to be able to do all the pieces of projects. And every project requires all 4 of these, and I'll show you how that all connects together by the time we finish all of this. So, am I making sense, Kathy?
Yes. And
okay, great.
One thing I think you and I talked about too is if it is just very hard for you to access the quadrants where you don't, really excel, sometimes you can bring someone else into the project that has those core strengths, right? So if I know that I'm lacking on the builder and banker, skill set, or that's just not what I really enjoy, then it might be beneficial for me to seek out somebody that has those complementary skills and, just understand where we're both coming from.
Right. Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay, I want to move on to builder. We do have a couple builders in this group. So let's look at what builder looks like. And builder, the core value is power. Now, sometimes we think of power being the ultimate power of, I'm going to stand over everybody and be powerful. That's not necessarily the way builders are. They can be leaders, but it's more on the physical energy of power, so it's personal energy, as it says there, personal energy invested to make a positive difference. So when we look at where the builder comes from, if you think about, you can see the picture there under builder, it's the hunter-gatherers. So these are the people who go out and make things happen. The community needs food. The community needs to have somebody go out and get the food and bring it back, and therefore the builder will do it. That's their job. That's who they are. They just go and do it. They store up. They preserve. They're the ones who go out, get it, bring it back so everybody else has it. So with the builder, it's about taking, personal energy and making things happen. Now, the other half of that is faith. And it's faith in knowing what they need to do. So if a builder sees that there's a pile of stuff that needs to be put together, and they don't understand how that pile of stuff is going to get put together, they aren't going to be able to be fully in their core value. They have to know, and they have to have faith that their power is sufficient to make that happen. So builders, once they see everything in front of them, it's like, oh, wait, there's this that needs to happen, and there's all these little things that I need to do it, and everything's right here, done. I call them the get-her-done people. They're the people who just take things, go. They're the people who are the ones where you don't really need to tell them, that just suddenly have something done, and it's like, oh, hey, cool, that's done, awesome. They will just do it. You don't have to ask, you don't have to push, you don't have to prod. They just go out and do things, and they really enjoy putting things together for other people and making it happen. That is the builder way. And so when it comes to a project planning, builders need to be doing something all the time. There needs to be something they can get their hands in and they can put together and do. So physically doing something to make the project happen. So if you're a builder and you've got a passionate project coming up, you want to look for what you can do. Ask the question, what can I do? And just start doing it. Whatever feels like it's the most easiest thing for you to do, just go do it. Don't overthink it. Don't think you have to do a bunch of other things. Do whatever is the clear path in front of you. This is what I need to do. Just go do it. That's the way the builder needs to work, from doing. The merchant works from the vision, the innovator works from all the different ideas, and the builder works from this is what needs to happen, I just need to do it. That's where the builder comes in. And Kathy and I both are a little far away from the builder realm. And this is what I want to bring up about that, though. You can get there if it's not your top. But for the builders, you can get to merchant and innovator, too. And so you know your secondary, actually the two builders that are on the call, their secondary is merchant. So when you have your, this is what I need to do, look for the big vision. What's the big vision that I'm working towards? And let it, see if it matches, and keep working on that. Go towards the things that match the vision. Look for the vision, what matches. Let's go. Look for this. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, that just reminds me a lot of the Franklin Covey planner system that I used to use. It's like, they always said start with a vision, and then, your action items every day were very much in the builder column. It's like, what are you going to do today? Breaking it down, into pieces.
And builders typically do sometimes like those things as well. And here's the thing, merchant and innovators don't always like those things, because innovators, it boxes them into a nice, neat little package of this is what I'm supposed to do, and they can't go off and look for other ideas. And for the merchant, it's not vision-oriented. It's just this is what I need to do right now. So merchants and innovators struggle with the Franklin Covey planner, but the builder bankers really like that kind of thing. So that's another sign that you're in the right place. If you're doing that kind of thing. And here's the thing. I mentioned a few times now that maybe, don't try and go off and try something else. We are usually taught by other people who may have different values from us. So if you're in the back of your head going, but I should be doing this, think about, is this a merchant thing, is this an innovator thing, or is this a builder thing? Does it match your value? Because if it's not your value, one, it's probably going to get pushed off to the side and not get done, or it's going to take forever to get to it. And two, it's not going to be, you're not going to be at your highest and best when you're doing it. So think about, when you're thinking about what you have to do, especially those of you who are merchants and innovators, or even all of you, if you're thinking about what to do, think about, what is my value? What's my way? If you're a merchant, it's how do I honor my vision? What can I do to honor my vision and my truth? For innovators, it's what kind of idea, what can help me come up with ideas? What can I do to come up with different ideas and play with them and tinker them, and what problem do I need to solve right now? Builders think about what are the things that need to get done, and look for those places instead of trying to go, well, somebody told me I was supposed to do this, or somebody told me I was supposed to do that. Who cares what somebody else told you to do? Follow your value, you know what it is, live in that value, and it'll be easy. And that's what Kathy has demonstrated. It's just easy, and that's why things get done, because she's following her highest value of merchant. Making sense?
Yeah. Do you want to ask for any questions from people, or how would you like to?
I want to do banker first,
okay.
And then I want to go for questions. So I want to explain banker, because nobody in here tested into banker, at least not of any of the ones that I saw, on their top two. So this is the most foreign for all of you. Banker is the thing that's kind of out there for most of you. And I want you to think about this in terms, if you are not, like if you're a merchant and you're not a builder, think about the people who are. Think about the people in your life that might be builders, and what do they, that might match up to the description of what I'm saying here. So for bankers, their core value is knowledge. Their core value is information and facts and research, and they're the ones who typically have a pile of binders on their desk that they actually refer to and use, and are willing to come up with answers. They go through and look at it and are like, okay, this is the logical answer. I'm going with that. They store knowledge. In fact, my husband is a banker, and he is like an information whore, I call him, because everything is in his brain. All I have to do, I don't have to use an encyclopedia. I don't have to go to the internet. All I have to do is go, hey, hubby, what do you know about this? And he usually knows something about it, and he's usually dead on right. Actually, he's always dead on right, because he studies, and he takes information in, and he collects knowledge. So if you do know a banker, they're a really good place to go if you need information. If you need to know something and you don't know what it is, bankers are the place to go. And their secondary is justice. Here's the thing with bankers. When they give you an answer and they give you something that is based in fact, the justice piece of it is they want you to carry it out in exactly the way they said you should do it. They're like, you should go this way, and this is exactly what you should do. It's the right way. They hear it use a lot of language. This is the right way. This is the way it should be. This is exactly what you need to do. They're very dead on with this is what needs to happen because they know the right way, and they want you to carry that out. They want you to take that information and use it in exactly the way they said to use it. So for them, justice has to be honored. Not only do they need to be able to give you information and be able to share their information, but they expect you to take it and use it in the way that they suggested that you do. So that's the banker end, and when we look at the picture over here, we don't actually have a picture of they're the ones who actually are the ones who stored and preserved food and conserved to keep everybody in the community safe. And in fact, one of the things they used to do is, if you've ever seen one of those like accordion things to put air on a fire to keep it warm so everybody would stay warm, that is called banking the coals. So they're the ones to protect the people and keep them safe. They bank the coals to keep them warm. They're the people who do that because they know that's what needs to happen. They know that they need to keep the fire going. They know that all of this stuff that they're putting away is going to feed the community, it's going to grow the community, and it's going to help the community. So they are the support underneath the community of preserving and conserving and keeping everyone safe. So that is what a banker looks like. They are always thinking this is the right way, whereas innovators think, okay, so there's a few ideas here that we could go with that I think fit the situation. The banker is, nope, this is the way. You got to do it this way. This is the place you need to go. Merchant creates the vision. Innovator comes up with the ideas. The builder gets things done. The banker creates the processes and gathers the information so that you know exactly how to do it. And that's how they all play together. And when you have one of each in a project, that's how they can play together. And some of you, and a lot of people, if you're doing passionate projects, usually passionate projects are starting with one person, and that one person is the one doing most of the work. And so you may need to find a way to become the builder or become the banker so that you can do that piece of what needs to happen for your project. But no, it's going to take a lot of energy, so set aside some time. If you're not a banker, set aside some time to give yourself the energy and know that it's going to take time to do that. Okay, so now that I've explained banker and all the quadrants, I would like to open the floor for questions at this point and see what kind of questions are lurking out there.
Great. Well, we have gotten a comment from Lisa. She said, this is great. Not really a question, but just, I think people are getting their head around, what does this mean for me? How does this work? So I did type in that we are open for questions. I wasn't sure how the pace was going to go, so we'll see what comes. But while we're waiting for those to queue up, I wanted to see if you could talk a little bit about the other column. I don't know if we probably can't get through all of it, but the conflict strategy, I thought that was so interesting too. Do you want to touch on maybe just one of those to talk about that aspect of?
Sure, I can talk on one of those. So what happens is when we have core values and we are honored in love and truth, and we honor our love and truth. Let's talk merchant. I'll go merchant since most of you are merchant in some way, shape, or form. When a merchant is honored in love and truth, everything is good and everything is great and they're at their highest and best. When love and truth get separated, so if you think about truth, if the truth isn't honored, so if I can't speak my truth as a merchant, then that's broken. That connection between love and truth is now broken. And when those two are broken, that's when we go into our conflict strategy. So with any one of these, innovator, if wisdom or compassion doesn't exist, if the banker doesn't have knowledge and justice, both of them, if the builder doesn't have power and faith, when they're broken, we go to our conflict strategy. And that conflict strategy is basically being dysfunctional within our own value. So for the merchants, it's usually a place of fear that puts us into our conflict strategy. So for the merchants, usually it's, oh, no, wait, they're not going to love me, or, oh, I can't speak my truth, or, oh, this is scary because people aren't listening to me, or some type of situation where we don't feel safe. And for merchants, they're usually afraid of losing love. That's usually what comes up for them. Is it, again, it's dysfunctional, so it's the exact opposite of who you are in your positive core value. So when we're afraid of losing love, we go to that conflict strategy of manipulate. And a lot of people, I know a lot of merchants kind of go, oh, I don't like that word manipulate. That's just so nasty, and it just doesn't feel right. And I don't like to think that I could ever manipulate people. It's not necessarily manipulating people. It's more usually manipulating the situation, trying to get that love back, trying to make sure that that love's going to stay, trying to make sure that that love is what it's supposed to be, and manipulating it into working. And that's where manipulation comes from. It's, I really want to make sure that these people love me, so therefore I am going to do everything in my power to make that happen. So if they, and again, this is when we feel like love and truth are separated. So when they aren't together, we can go to, oh crap, I got to manipulate this into the way I want it to be. I want to keep these people around, so I've got to manipulate them to do it. I do it, I know as a merchant, I manipulate the situation a lot. I used to, until I figured out what I was doing. There was a time when I would get into like a group of new people and start chatting with this group of new people, and I would jump right in, and I would be like, hey, how's it going? And they might be in the middle of a conversation, and they might say a few things, and I wanted to, my innovator doesn't want me to look foolish, so I start jumping in with things trying to make it sound like I'm all cool and I know what they're talking about. So I will then go to manipulation, and so I'll go to innovator and go, oh, let me come up with some cool things, and then if I don't feel safe in that group, I'm manipulating, and I'm like, oh, but that's cool, and I start saying things that aren't necessarily true, and I start saying things that I don't really know, and I start coming up with stories and lying and coming up with something, anything, just to make it sound like I can fit into this group. So I would manipulate the situation to make it, oh, these people are going to love me because I have these really cool things to say. And what ends up happening every single time is they think I'm weird, and they have no idea how I fit into the group because I come up with some weird things that I don't really know what I'm saying. I'm just talking out my butt, you know, because I'm just trying to fit in.
So honest, Kristen.
It's so manipulative. But, I mean, that's the kind of thing as manipulation. It's not necessarily being that manipulative person that's really trying to make somebody they aren't. It's more just going dysfunctional in the value and doing everything opposite of what our highest value is. When I'm going in that situation, I am not speaking truth. I am not coming from love in any way, shape, or form. I am just trying to freaking fit in. So that's where manipulation comes in. And all of them, as you can see, have their own conflict strategy that we default to it when we don't feel safe in our values. That's what happens. As they're broken, we don't feel safe, so therefore we default.
Well, I just have found this, you know, really comforting to just know that there's a thing that helps me parse like what seems so complex as emotions, and it's not, you know, it's not hours or years of, you know, psychotherapy. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I think that can also be, you know, very, very valuable. But this just seems like such a simple tool to kind of get to your, you know, the DNA of your values. And, you know, I'll just come forward and say, like, one thing just that's been helpful for me is knowing that I kind of resonate with the values on the right side of the columns here. I see that sometimes when people hire me, they're looking at me to be a builder. Like, they think I am going to be the one to type up all their social media statuses and build their website or whatever. I'm going to go in some, you know, back room little laboratory. I'm going to put it in a black box and poof, come back with a finished solution. You know, like that is just so wrong for me on many, many levels, because I'm not in community. You know, there's no relationship, there's no innovation. Or even if I'm being innovative, I'm not recognized for my innovation. They just want me to be the builder and come back with something done, and that doesn't feed me. So even if I'm literally getting a check that's a good sized check, it's like I I will put that on the back burner because I'm like, where's the innovation? Where's the relationship? Where's the love? And so that has also been very useful just to kind of help me understand which projects I really don't have any business, getting into, really.
Exactly.
Like what's not going to be a good fit for me. And it doesn't mean it won't be a good fit for anybody, but maybe that's either a referral, where if I understand how somebody else is wired and I can drill down and ask the client what they're looking for, great, But how I have given that same thing in the CoThrive model is, hey, come to open office hours and let's innovate together. Let's empower you to build a website. I want you to love me because I'm going to empower you to do what you need to do. So I just think it's really hopeful. It's just not a static picture of how things can be, but to me I just see energy, moving into each of the quadrants, through me and through the other people I know, to really let all of us be our highest and best good. I think it's, really kind of a cool thing. So I'll just read you a few comments that are coming in. Angela Crossan, she said she also felt that this was great, and she said that she had her Myers-Briggs ENFJ description out as well, trying to compare the two. So she said, thanks to both of us, and to thy own self be true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please. Yeah. Please be true to yourself, because when we're in our highest and greatest, we move fastest and easiest towards our end goal. So I love that. I love that you're comparing it to the Myers-Briggs as well. I think I actually walked somebody through this, the debrief process of this whole thing, and helped them own their values in it. And they are actually a Myers-Briggs person who walks people through their Myers-Briggs results. And she found it very fascinating how it kind of crosses some of them with the Myers-Briggs, but she also found that it very much settles into some of that too. So she really had fun with this and looking at it too. So the Myers-Briggs people like this too. So
cool.
Very cool.
And then Lisa said she likes this view. She says she knows that she's challenged with not knowing the builder in her, in hopes to find that, or at least recognize it in others, so she can find allies to get things done. And she asked, do people tend to attract more of our own core value types? If so, how to shift to find the others?
Yes, we do tend to, like does attract like. I mean, there's a reason that everybody on this call tested into merchant as first or second, because Kathy is a merchant on top. So that's a very like does attract like. And the question isn't, how do we get to the other people? It's, do we want to play with the other people? So it's really, you need to look at for yourself. Do you want to play with builders and bankers as your potential clients or your potential partners? Is that really the place you want to go, or can you accomplish? Or is it more fun for you to work with merchants and innovators and attract merchant and innovators to your life? Depending on where you are. So you have to make that decision. Some people choose to work with builders and bankers because they like the accompaniment to it, but you also have to look at what they're looking for. Like Kathy said, builders come to her looking for her to get things done, and that's not what she does. So you need to think about it on a couple different levels. What do you offer, and who is going to be most attracted to that, as well as who do you want to play with? Do you want to play with the people on the opposite side of their core values?
Mm-hmm. And I guess what's needed in a project, if it's your business and you're trying to attract clients, that might be one thing. But as you said, the banker is the one who banks the fire with the bellows. And, if you've got a project that might very well need somebody that's got that kind of capability or, is wired that way. So maybe it's depending on the scope of the project, or if it's if it's a business, certainly, then you really probably wouldn't want to build it around attracting clients that aren't going to resonate with you, but maybe project would be different. And then, did you want to add anything else?
I do want to say, if you want to attract a banker to help you, speak in banker terms. So if you're looking for a banker to partner with you so that you have a banker on the team, then you want to speak in banker terms. I'm looking for someone who can help me find the right way. I'm looking for someone who is willing to do research and willing to look up the facts for me. Speak that language, and those people will come.
they'll come running. They can't stay away. They want to
Right.
run that data for you.
Exactly.
Yeah, got it. Well, and then Deborah is asking, or she just comments basically, once you've been working in all the quadrants, she's found that it becomes easier. She feels that she is pretty balanced and that she works in all four every day and works hard to keep balanced. As a self-employed person, you need to embrace all.
And I agree with that we need to learn to embrace all. And when you talk about conflict strategy, especially, the way to get out of a conflict strategy is to shift to another place on the graph. So when we learn to be positive in all four of them, and then we head into a conflict strategy, we can choose to shift out of that conflict strategy and into a more positive place. So the more you practice, the better.
Yep, and I do believe Deb really does work hard. She's an artist, and then she also had been in the military previously, so she's really got a pretty strong left and right brain, difference kind of thing going on.
Well, and here's the other thing that happens with this is sometimes through work experiences, through life experience, through parents, through so many other things, we might actually have easy access to something that's opposite of us just because it was fostered in us somewhere along the line. I was working with somebody last week who is a full-on banker, very, very high on the banker scale and very low on all three of the others. And we were talking about it, and they're like, but I like to do builder kind of things, and I've actually had jobs where I was a builder kind of thing. And then they also said, I've also am an idea generator. And so he'd actually had jobs that fostered builder and innovator. And in his marriage, his merchant was fostered. So he had access to the other three, even though he's a strong banker and it takes a lot of energy to get to builder, merchant, and innovator. Because he'd been fostered in them, he knew what to do to get there. And a lot of the work that I do with my clients is help them figure out what's it going to take for me to get there so that I know what kind of energy I need and what that looks like. So if you've been fostered in them, you can get there and use them, and you can be all four within one person. You just need to know, what it takes to make it into each one of those quadrants.
Great. And I do just want to say to it, must be my, Claudia asked me what is my core. I think she might have missed the first few. I am a merchant and an innovator, Claudia, and right now I'm kind of feeling this merchant feeling. I know it looks like Stephen had to leave early, and I just want to go on record. Stephen does do counseling, and I really didn't mean to say that this tool takes the place of counseling. I really hope I didn't, hurt anybody's feelings, because I think he is a great at counseling, and people definitely need to go in depth. So I in no way meant to say that this takes the place of more in-depth counseling. I just think it's a great jumping off point and, a great tool that anybody can use that's very accessible. So I'm not sure if that's why Stephen had to go, but I just want to go on record publicly to say that I think he's awesome, and I think he does a very, very valuable, service for people that is just, it's different than this. It's not like one is better or worse. And we've got another question from April. April says, anyone who knows me knows that I'm a merchant innovator. So with my ADD brain, how do I possibly balance all in one day 25% each? Would it be divided into time frames dedicated to how I plan my day?
It is more based on what you need at the time. I would say follow what speaks to you most. That's the thing is, especially if you're a merchant innovator, it sounds like you're looking for a structured way to do this, and as a merchant innovator, structure isn't going to work for you very well. So I would suggest looking at, instead of do I block off time to be this every day, look at what needs to get done and what's going to help me most.
And I'll just tell you a little bit about April. She has a vision to create, April, can you help me out with the language? I know it's like to create healthy superfood snacks, and basically she has done that. She has a line of really just awesome protein balls and granola that she hand makes. And so yeah, I think she is driven very much by this vision of people can eat healthier, they can just really enjoy great stuff. And I see her putting like so much love into her food, and she'll just innovate a new recipe right there in front of my eyes. It'll come to her, a whole new recipe fully formed. But then she has to go into, hey, you know, I could go to farmers markets and sell these, you know, a little bit at a time, or if I'm looking at how to really build my business or bump it to the next level, I might have to get over there on that left side of the column and think about distributors, or think about, you know, sitting down with my small business development coach that's going to look at something like a spreadsheet. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So I think, you know, maybe you don't have to spend 25% of, you know, each day in each of those, but just acknowledge, like, hey, this is a pretty important function that might need to get done. Like, who can I tap? You know, I have this person that can help me with this, or I have this person that can help me with this. I know I have to do this part, so, you know, let me pick the time of day, or let me get somebody else in here.
I wonder if April would be willing to jump on the line and talk a little bit. So we have a few minutes that we might be able to just quickly nail this in for her.
Yeah. April, are you up for it? I'm going to try it. She said I did nail it perfectly, so that's pretty cool.
Okay, good.
Hey, April, are you willing?
Yeah. Do I talk on my... What do I talk?
We can hear you.
I don't know what I'm doing.
We can hear you.
Okay.
You're fine. Yeah.
Oh, I can hear. Oh, we found it on my headset. Okay, here we go. Here.
Sounds like you're in a big group or something.
Can you hear us?
We can.
Yeah, I can hear you. Claudia and I are up there.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Good. You're with Claudia. Wonderful. Cool.
Great. So, April, really quick, I just want to ask, what is it that makes you think you need to spend 25% of your day in each one?
Because Kathy nailed it on the head. So basically, yes, it's like relationship, vision, all those things on the right side are how I get through my day, and those are the things that, same thing, like I know I'm doing the right thing when you have just enough sleep before you're excited to wake up the next day to jump into the next task that needs done. But back out on that left side, that's where I'm like just finding the time that I just can't focus on getting my recipe development done, or should I hire that out, or, you know, doing my financial stuff, you know, that's not where I want to spend my effort, and it's like I'm becoming more aware that I need to just stop and push it out.
So you have in your mind there, and this is what happens. We think we know we have to get these things done, and they're on the other side. My question for you, April, is let me just give you this. You can think about it in terms two ways. You can think about it in I got to get this done, or you can think about it in how can I honor who I am in getting it done. So look for a merchant innovator place to come from first. So in order to get this done, it's going to help me with my vision here. And start there. Instead of, I got to get this done, it's how is this going to help my vision? How is this going to create ideas for me? If I do this, where is this going to land for me in my merchant or my innovator place?
Okay, so how will the test get me to that perfect vision? It's maybe what you're saying. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. And Claudia has a question too. I'm going to go ahead and mute April, although Claudia is with April, so we might be bringing her back. And Claudia is a handcrafted jewelry designer in Northwest Indiana. She does just beautiful jewelry out of just kind of really neat elemental not ingredients, what the heck, components, and also upcycled and just really neat stuff. She says she is a builder and merchant in her personal life and her business. Can I accomplish the other two, and how? So I think the answer is yes. It's just that specific recipe.
Yeah, my question is, do you need to? That's the thing, is we don't always need to be on the other half. Just because we don't own them as our highest values, it doesn't mean we have to be in those values. If merchant innovator or builder merchant is where you live, try and come up with projects that honor your builder merchant. Come up with ways to go about that project that honor your builder merchant. You don't always have to be in the other two or find things that are the other two. We sometimes need help from the other two. You might need a little help from a banker and an innovator, but again, if you live and you pick and you choose how you move forward from a builder merchant place, you're going to be things are going to be a lot easier, and it's going to be a lot more fun for you to move forward in it. Choose your projects wisely.
She said she feels very comfortable with builder and a merchant, so you got a smile out of her. She doesn't have a microphone, but she's good with that. And I will say, not to make this sound too, self-promotional, but because I did invent CoThrive based on merchant and innovator values, I mean, part of really what makes me tick is playing in the innovator space. And honestly, the reason that I make that part of my business model is because I enjoy it, but I also want to make that innovation accessible to everybody. So that if that's not your core style, I think just by dropping into office hours and being part of the mix that changes every single day, every single time when we come together, you're going to pick up on some innovation stuff, and hopefully we'll make it a little bit fun, fun for you. So if you're just joining us, this has been a CoThrive webinar, and Kristen is our lovely presenter today. She believes that you are as unique as tie-dye, and I don't know if you can tell, but she's got a tie-dye shirt on, and she has worn tie-dye pretty much every single web call that we've had, and I just love that about her. So I'd like to give her a few moments to just tell people how they can find out more about her, and how, if you're interested in going deeper with this, what kind of offer she's making to the CoThrive community. So go right ahead, Kristen.
Yeah, I do believe that you are as unique as tie-dye, and I think that we need to create projects and we need to move forward in businesses, especially, and honor that uniqueness and own that uniqueness. And it starts with who you are in your values. Everything starts from your values, where you plan, how you work, what you do, who you meet. It all starts with our values. And everybody works within these 4 quadrants in different ways. Kathy works differently than I do within the merchant. So you have your own unique way of owning it and being within that and working within that. And so I believe that we all need to discover what it is how we function within our core values and how they help us and support us and where we can use them the most. So that's why I've created a What's Your Tie-Dye program. So it's what's your tie-dye in your values? What's your unique values way of moving forward? And I offer to all of you who are on the call the opportunity to go through a 4-session program where we will walk through the 4 quadrants, and we will look at how they work for you and how they affect your project and how you can move forward honoring who you are within that project in terms of your values. And this page right here, coachesmarketingsource.com/tie-project.html, is where you can take advantage of that program. And I do have a special coupon code for those of you who are on the call and listening, and you can take advantage of this and get $50 off if you would like to by using CoThrive Rocks as the coupon
Oh, I love that. Thanks for that coupon code.
So all of you CoThrive members can take advantage of that if you would like to, and that coupon code is good through Friday this week if you would like to take advantage of that and jump on board and get your 4 sessions in on discovering how to apply these values to how you're moving forward with your project.
So whether or not you decide to take advantage of going, deeper into this, I think everybody would agree they've taken away some really concrete things that can help you understand your own motivations and hopefully attract, the right projects to yourself, give yourself permission to leave those that are just not honoring your core values, and use your energy more wisely and just get more joy out of life. So really want to thank Kristen for being our guest presenter today, and hope she'll be back sometime soon as our community grows. So you're getting a lot of thanks, and Lisa says that she's wearing tie-dye today too. So,
yay!
you on the tie-dye. All right, well, hey, thanks a lot. You guys are really awesome, and I just so enjoy when we can all get together and share information like this. So thanks again, Kristen, and I hope some people will be able to follow up with you and take advantage of your generous offer.
Me too.
Okay, take care.